there's a slogan, obviously, that was mentioned before, so I'll just parody it. Um, when they go low, we go local. And I think the best example of that we have here today is Mayor Parris. And I said I want Los Angeles to be Lancaster when it grows up, but I don't want Rex Parris to be our mayor. I want him to be our president. We have the wrong Republican in the White House right now. He's a visionary who's brought amazing sustainable change to a very conservative city and shown that climate action is cost efficient, profitable, and just plain makes good sense. So please welcome Mayor Rex Parris.
It's so nice of you. You know, in World War II, what occurred was our way of life, everything about us was threatened. And it was a very real threat. It could have all ended. And so Republicans and Democrats and Christians and Muslims and everybody came together because we had this enemy that was going to crush us if we didn't. We had and I'm taking voice classes so that people could hear me. My wife said they think you're old. I assured her that that couldn't be true. In any event, what occurred was we came together and survived. The threat that World War II presented to us is 1/10 of the threat that we are facing today. And what's crazy about it is even Republicans know it. We all know it. You know, it's the insanity that seems to be overwhelming us is hard to comprehend. But then again, it's not at all because it's so horrible what we're facing. It's hard to keep looking at it for very long at all. Now, when I got elected as mayor in Lancaster, I didn't know anything about climate change. I didn't know anything about being a mayor. And the party line then was what Trump says now. It was a Chinese plot. And I believed it. I mean, that's what the party said. I believed it. You know, what did I know? But I have this habit of reading books, you know. And I wake up every morning at about 4:30 and I read for a couple hours. And as I read more and more, I realized this is real. This is real stuff. Now, that was 8 years ago. And so I figured I had about 4 years before they kicked me out, you know, but I would make as much progress as I could. But then what happened was this renaissance in the city that took place because everybody got on board. And now all of the buses we're buying are all electric. And we brought the bus factory to Lancaster to build them, you know, and got 1,000 jobs in the process. The street lights, you know, I had a meeting with Edison and I said, look, I want to make those LED. Now, 8 years ago, that was revolutionary. And they said, well, you know, we got to do this study and we got to do that. And, you know, 10 years from now, maybe you get your LED lights. And so I looked at our building and our planning guy and I said, can I red tag those street lights, those electric poles, you know? And, you know, you get this look of horror because guess what? I could. Now, all of a sudden, those street lights were for sale. I mean, and we bought them all. And we're replacing all of them with LEDs. We turn them into portals in the city that we can put Wi-Fi in, all free Wi-Fi throughout the neighborhood. I mean, if you want to talk about equality, my grandkids, they have the wisdom of the ages in front of them every day they turn on the computer. And the kids in the other school have none of that. How is that possibly tolerable in America today? So we're going to fix that too. But the synergy that develops when you start facing this common enemy and bringing people together, everything gets better. You know, we had the highest crime rate in LA County. It's now one of the lowest. We had the highest number of gang murders. In 2 years, we had 0. Because that's what happens when the community comes together to have a common goal. And what is that goal? We want our children to live, because that's really what's at stake. And the one thing I heard here today that I would caution you against is, yeah, everybody knows Trump's an idiot. I mean, even the Republicans know he's an idiot. He just is. You know, it's just the way it is. He's not the enemy. He's not the, for two reasons. One, it's Exxon that was the enemy. And you think it's an accident that guy's Secretary of State? You know, who has the most to lose if we're successful? But Exxon and Chevron and the oil companies. That's who loses. You always look to where the money is. And the other thing is I don't know that he's the villain, because he doesn't issue building permits. We do. We do. If we're going to solve this, you're going to solve it with building permits. And Lancaster, within 3 years, 5 years ago, all of the city buildings, 100% alternative energy from solar panels. All of our energy. And what did we do to do that? Well, they elected a mayor who's really autocratic. And he just said, do it. And they did. And they did. All of the houses that we build in Lancaster, not most of them, all of the houses we build in Lancaster do not take 1 watt off the grid. They are all net zero today. Now, how did that happen? It's because we brought a Chinese company and KB Homes, and the city formed a partnership and said, let's try to figure out if we could do it so that it was affordable. Well, guess what? Not only is it affordable, you can buy a much better house, because when you add up all the payments you make in a month, you can get a much better house if you don't have to pay for electricity. Now, on top of that, guess what they also did? They use 1/3 the water. They use half the natural gas. You know, everything that has a synergistic effect. And in LA, this couldn't be a better time. You got a mayor that, you know, he transcends political parties. He really does. He can accomplish just about anything he wants. He just has to know that you want this. Never buy another bus that uses any carbon-based fuel. None. All right? Because it's better. The electric buses are better. If you want people to use public transportation, we're building a bus next year in Lancaster that it's totally robotic. Now, that's kind of scary, huh? No driver in the bus you're in? But it's actually much better because they're predefined routes. They all make the same turns at the same time, at the same place, you know. They're easy to automate, to roboticize. Now that driver, you don't get rid of the driver. The driver now is taking care of the passengers. You know, I'm getting on that bus if they'll give me coffee on the way to work, right? It just makes sense. It's a whole different experience. It's not just climate change that comes with this, but the will to do it is going to come from there. It's not going to come from Washington, D.C. Even in the Obama years, he was ineffective because it will not happen in D.C. It will happen in the cities. And you're right. If LA came together, if the creative talent that's in LA came together and said, we're going to fix this, any doubt we'd fix it? But I promise you this, that hits 6 degrees, we are all dead. It's that serious. I'm glad you're here. If you want to come visit us, we'll show you all the stuff we're doing. Every day is an exciting day in Lancaster because we have this thing we're trying to fix. Join us. Thank you. Oh. Now, this is for Paul. Where did Naomi go? She had to run, unfortunately. Okay. Will you give that to her?